Welcome everybody to another Sunday night. You guys are watching Explain Yourself. My name is Joey Galvez, and I'm here with my pal Benjamin W. Morris. Ben, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. It's been a couple of weeks since I've seen you,
It
man.
has
And I'm
been,
glad to
yeah.
be back. But I want to say first and foremost, happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there and all those mothers who have to step in for the father role. Thank you guys. We appreciate every single one of you and all the things you do. Ben, dude, let's just jump right into it because we got a great guest and we got some really, really great comic books to talk about. So I'm going to throw it right over to you and we'll just jump right in.
That we do. So we have a great guest tonight who is going to take us through Scott Snyder presents the CloakRoom, 1 through 4, 400 pages of comics, and we're excited to talk to the person running the project, Jerry Carita. Jerry, how's it going, man?
Hello, sir. How are you?
So Jerry's been here before. It's awesome to have you back. Thanks for coming back.
It's awesome to be back. Thank you for having me.
Cool. All right. So Tales from the CloakRoom is got 9 days to go. And I should mention, I always forget to, that you can, if you're watching this on YouTube now live or later in the week, you can go right down to the description. There's links to this Kickstarter campaign, a bunch of other ones. So just scroll down there and you can head right over and pledge. But to get us going, Jerry, tell us about the CloakRoom.
So the CloakRoom is an anthology series that I edit and publish along with a partner named Veronica Howell. We are both students in Scott Snyder's writing class workshop that he runs through Substack, through his Substack Best Jacket, our Best Jacket. And what it is like I'd say 4 years ago now, a group of kids in the class, group of students, I say kids because I'm like 45 and a lot of them are younger than me, but most of them are adults. And they're a group in the class put together an anthology project that was something like 18 or 19 stories, 120 something pages long. It was kind of a Herculean task. All relatively new creators, all people in the class. And you know, that was called Tales from the CloakRoom. A year later, a different group of people did the same thing, Tales from the CloakRoom Volume 2. And in the following year, Veronica and I took over the project. And rather than try and get 18 groups of creators on the same page once a year for 120 pages, we decided to make it more of an ongoing, more manageable thing. So instead, what we do is we do 3 or 4 issues every year, each one with between 5 and 8 stories, depending on the length of the stories that we have that are ready. We work as editors with the creators. We help them like nurture their story, whether it's, hey, here's a comic that's almost finished, or here's an idea I wrote on the back of a napkin in a bar one night that I really want to talk about with somebody. And we help them kind of do the best version of their story, and then we publish it. We've done 4 issues. All 4 are available in this campaign. We've done 3 normal issues, 1 holiday issue. We have at least 2 more issues planned. And yeah, it's live right now. We got 9 days left. It's been going for about 20 days. And, you know, we still got a little bit of a ways to go to get to our goal. But, you know, we're doing pretty well. And that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're on track there. Is this I could go down here, but it's always more fun to have you describe it to us. Is this going to be just the issues collected, or are you actually collecting this into a big volume?
So as of now, we don't have a definitive plan of what to do next, and that's honestly something that when the time comes, when we're done, or when we have probably 2 or 3 more issues in the can, we'll talk to Scott about what to do with it. Because one thing we'd like to explore is, it's only been on Kickstarter. You know, a handful of retail shops have bought it through the retailer tiers on the campaigns. But generally it hasn't been like in the direct market at all. And so it's this big collection of great stories, and sort of Scott has helped nurture along a lot of them. So we want to have a conversation with him about, you know, possibly like working to repackage it into a series that would go directly into stores through a more traditional, you know, distribution network. Barring that, I think definitely we will turn it into a series of hardcovers or one big compendium or something. The final sort of thing that we do will be that, if we don't end up going the route of putting it in stores.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's great when you've got all this stuff just saved up that you can put out some huge thing with. All right, so some new stories are in this one. Tell us a little bit about those.
So yeah, there are 5 stories in this one. The one you have up on the screen there is called "The Only Way Out Is Through." It's a story of a young squire who watches his knight slaughtered by a black knight, and so he, you know, rededicates his life to revenge. And it's sort of how his whole life is misshapen because of that. It's this story. Casey is the writer and Maxime is the artist. Casey pitched this story to us, and he already had conceived what it would look like, and it took so long for me to understand what he was pitching. But if you see the sample page there, every page is that same scene. So every page is one giant scene, and it takes place over the course of this squire's whole life, his whole lifespan.
Oh, cool.
So you'll see the cabin changes, the trees change, the seasons change, there are battles and fires, and there's sort of narration that goes throughout it, but every page is one gigantic, it's like a tapestry, it's like a medieval tapestry. And that clever thing that they did with the boxes is really brilliant. But embarrassingly, it took me for a very long time to even understand what he was pitching to us. And then when he gave us the sample, we were like, this is amazing. Let's do this. It's crazy. It's a little atypical for comics, but it's kind of cool.
That sounds very cool. And quick question. So everybody kind of developed some of these in that workshop. How do you guys go about, I assume that's primarily a writer thing, being Scott Snyder. How do you guys find the artists to collaborate with?
So there are a handful of artists in the class. There's a guy, specifically the first one that pops to mind is Matt Salisbury, who he did one of our covers for this issue. He has illustrated, I think, 3 different stories throughout the run since the larger anthology books that they did. And he wrote and illustrated one of his own. But otherwise, some of them are people I've worked with. Some of them are people Veronica's worked with. A lot of them are people that the writers come to us with an idea. I want to work with this person I met through Instagram. And then we'll all reach out together and kind of have a conversation about what that means and how it should work and all that. So it's all different. A lot of it is just networking online. I've done things on Facebook where I just go into an art group and say, hey, I have this anthology series. We're always looking for artists with different styles, so please send me links. And then I'll have, we have like probably 200 links from that post, just to people we can look at who try and get work, so that's how we do it.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed about this issue, the pages you have up for this and the other ones that we've seen, is that you have a lot of different art styles, and I think different art approaches. A lot of people, when they say we're looking for different styles, they mean like slightly different styles of anime or something like that. And you guys actually, I think, have a lot of different stuff that is not just different rendering styles, but just different types of art, different types of layout, and really geared towards different types of storytelling too, much like this Black Knight one. We're
both really big into indie books, and like what I love about you can be weird, and there are things that the comic book medium, like I'm a television producer by day, that's my day job, and there are things that you can do in storytelling and comics that you can't do on screen. The way it's drawn, the way it's written, it's like there's just like things you can't do. So we want to try. We're using this as an opportunity to kind of try every out there thing that comes our way.
Yeah, I think people respond really well to that. I mean, anytime you see, I'm trying to think of the most obvious example I can think of in recent memory. Okay, like those Nightwing pages from a year or two ago where he would, I think Bruno Redondo drew it. I don't know who the writer was, but it was just like a side view of this whole building as he jumps through and fights people. And I've seen it done a few times since. But anytime somebody experiments like that, it's usually very well received. And I'm surprised that I don't see more of it. And it's kind of cool to see that's in a little bit of I don't think it's your whole approach, but it's certainly something you guys really look for and try to emulate.
Scott had, I don't know if this is the same thing you're talking about, but Scott had Kyle Higgins on. It must have been a year, maybe, I think it was more than a year ago, and he was showing the class this book that he had written that was all just one gigantic fold out page.
Is that the Radiant Black universe? There's something like that in it.
I'll look up what it was. I don't remember honestly, but it was all one page. So all 22 pages was one long fold out page that had to be like unfolded. And then you read it all the way across once, and then all the way across again. And it was like, again, some experimental thing that like, I'm sure some people were like annoyed by it because they want to read the book like on the subway or something. But I think those things are awesome. It's like great to experiment and figure out new things we can do with the medium.
Yeah, unless you're the guy next to that person in the subway, I think that's right. I'm going to post about that if it happens to me. I'm not liking
that. In New York, it's always the New York Times, when people have to unfold the whole thing and
I'll take the Showtime guys over that. I don't want somebody's huge comic wrapped around my head. Very cool. but yeah, these that's something I think I've seen a little. There was a guy doing a Kickstarter when I first started doing some that was like a tapestry he rolled. It was like 30 feet or something, and it was kind of a ninja story or something like that, and it was really cool. And I thought, why don't I see that all the time?
Right.
I think people do enjoy that. But just to scroll through a few more of the stories here.
Yeah, so that's
pretty cool.
This is the monsters we make. Nate Skactor, Nicolo Arcuti, and Sean Reinhardt's the letters. So it's sort of a psychological. I don't know what the word would be. It's not really a thriller, but it's sort of like, you have really complicated relationships with your parents, and so this is the story of a kid who has a very kind of fraught relationship with his mother, to the point where he's come to view her as kind of a monster for all the weird manipulative things that she's done over the course of his life, and he has to just come to terms with those feelings and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of this like psychological thing where, and again, this is a great comics thing. Like mom gets represented by that actual monster with the smiling. You never see her face except in like old photos. So she's looks like a monster, and you start to understand why he might feel that way. But it's all more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's just one of my favorite tricks is you can just always draw somebody lit a certain way, or not lit at all, and it just works in a way that you'd never be able to do in live action. And it's just the most obvious thing in the world with comics.
Exactly. And then, so Secret Sauce is John Auerbach, Megan Huang, and Tobin Rasicod, who's done a lot of letters for us, and it's fantastic. And if anyone's looking for a letterer, I highly recommend them. John, he introduced me to the term cozy fantasy, which I'd never heard before. I don't know how I missed it, but it's a funny story. It's a comedy, and it's about an elf with a sandwich shop, and she runs out of the special ingredient, the secret ingredient for these sandwiches. And there's like an angry ogre and a whole line of angry, magical world patrons, unicorns and such, that want these sandwiches. So she has to go venture out into the woods and go on a quest to, face a dragon and try and get her secret sauce.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I like the sort of anime food. That's just something people focus on. I think that is a lot of fun, and I think works in a short story really well. And then this one, I really like the art for this, The Hunted. Yeah,
The Hunted. So this is it's a story. There's two sort of military people. It's sort of a futuristic place where it seems like they're being invaded by these gigantic monster lizard things, and they've been attacked, and they have to get back to their regiment and kind of share what intel they have about these monsters with their people so they can have a chance of survival. And so it's kind of told in two timelines where it keeps flashing back to the attack. So the page that's visible there, one of the two commandos there just kind of keeps going into sort of a state of shock and flashing back to watching this monster rip human beings in half like they're nothing, like they're paper mache.
Very cool. The colors on this are awesome. I mean, just really nice stuff there.
Yeah, that's actually, like, we've had a lot of conversations about the colors in this one. They wanted to go, the sky is this shade of pink purple that doesn't really exist in nature, for sky colors anyway. And that's an intentional thing that all the creators kind of came up with together about kind of creating this kind of frenetic, almost it's like high energy feeling to all of it. And then when they're flashing backward, the color palette changes to something else. So the yellow down at the bottom is, that's part of a flashback.
Very cool. I think, okay, there's one more. Better Angels.
Better Angels. Ken Jansen's and Konstantin Pak and Ralph Singh on colors. So this is, it's sort of a superhero story. He is known for saving children, and it's sort of him in the aftermath of having saved some children from a flood is being interviewed by a local TV news person. And he's also remembering, something from the past. And those two stories are kind of being told on one timeline. So it's like part of his origin story, kind of.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I saw him on one of the covers. This is actually probably my favorite of the bunch, just showing them all in the box like that.
Yeah, that's
really cool idea.
Pablo Verdugo drew that. So we go out to these cover artists. Pablo's done, I think, 2 for us. He's also done one for 2 other books that I'm working on. He's great, and he's just really great. And so we send him all the art from the stories, and kind of indicate who the main characters are in the stories, and then he'll come up with this thing where it's like an old box of toys that's either being taken out or put away.
Mhm.
You know, and they're all the characters from the books have been converted into these like playthings, which is fun.
Yeah, no, I totally got that. I'm like, oh yeah, they're in an attic. You're coming across this thing you haven't seen in years, and it's just all the stuff in there. It really is. I think about how to say this. Like just a good, I guess, advertisement for what a cover ought to be. For all the stuff you'll see inside, and it just makes it look fun and something you want to crack open. This one
Yeah.
is really cool as well. I like the marionettes, if that's what they're
Yeah,
called.
that's Matt Salisbury. So he's actually done, I think, 3 covers for us so far. He only didn't do one for the holiday issue. And
Mhm.
every time he pitches us like 3 or 4 more ideas. So we actually have a backlog of ideas for these. But that's I really do love this one. And if you look in the background again, it's a character from each story. The ones in the shadows are 2 more characters. So all 5 stories are represented again.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah, I didn't quite get that this was the superhero.
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, awesome. And then I think the third one is the mother. Maybe there's one more.
That's it. That's the mom.
Again,
And
very
again, so
cool.
he had drawn this with just the main character from that story in the soup, and then we said, "Can you go back and add characters from all the other stories?"
Hmm.
So those are all 5 stories represented there in the soup.
Yeah, it reminds me of that witch from Looney Tunes that was always trying to cook Bugs Bunny or somebody
Oh
else.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, very very fun stuff. And I like that. Any of these could be like, if this were X-Men or something, like these would be like really cool covers. They would be kind of like, oh yeah, that one where this happened. It's like just very good layouts and good concepts. I
yeah.
guess
We've
more
been really
original concepts than I usually see.
yeah we've been really lucky with them with our covers. You know, it's actually like I have found it. If you have an ongoing series that's telling one story, you can kind of lift elements from that one story and
Hmm.
make a cover. You know, you're following Batman, you know, and in this issue it's going to be the Joker, and then it's going to be somebody else in the next one, and you kind of can build your covers around that. Having 2 or 3 options for an anthology series that doesn't really have a theme is challenging. So our holiday covers have themes. Obviously, those make sense because they're all holiday stories. But all these other ones, it's like how many different? It kind of forces you to be really creative. How many different ways can we represent 5, 6, 7, 8 completely different stories in one piece of art where it's not just, you know, like here's characters from every story and they're standing in a room
Hmm.
or they're on a roof or they're wherever. Like let's put them in the soup. You know, like each one of these artists have come up with something really clever each time. So
Hmm.
I've been like continually surprised by how much creativity goes into them.
Yeah, I
Really,
was going to ask, looking at these earlier today, if you guys really just sat down and brainstormed as a group all these ideas, because they're just, I mean, I think for the reasons you described, they can't just be literal. It's not like in this issue, Wolverine fights Sabretooth. It's like, I have an
right.
idea, Wolverine and Sabretooth on the cover, going at it, but you have to be kind of literal. You need to show the characters and something like that, but also just, it's got that good mix of stuff that is metaphorical or not necessarily. I don't expect to see them in the soup in the story, but really does give an impression of what you're going to find, and it just looks cool and intriguing, which is what I
Yeah,
think a lot of the great covers are.
we've just been lucky. We usually throw all the stories and the concepts and some art samples from the book at each cover artist and say, what do
Mhm.
you want? What jumps out at you? And they come back to us with something. This one we specifically, what happened here is actually that there's a panel in the book that is sort of in this vein where she's in shadow holding the soup. And I used that as an early Kickstarter cover page. So just the campaign
Mhm.
cover page. And I just like got used to seeing it and was like, that's kind of an awesome, creepy, spooky image. So we asked him to do a cover, that's sort of based on that
Mhm.
imagery. And he did, and it was originally the one character. And Veronica suggested, can he put all the other characters in the soup because then they're all represented again. So it's a team effort, but we almost always start with letting the artist kind of come back to us with their ideas. Without like
Mhm.
sometimes with art, what I've noticed is a lot of artists, like, in addition to, they want to be creative and they want, like, some of them like to be completely free to do whatever they want. And some of them really like to be kind of told, what do you want? And I'll draw that first and then we'll make it creative from there. But if you go to them and you give them ideas, those ideas kind of become the thing they focus on. And then they'll give you some version of what you said you wanted. And so we always start with like, you do whatever you want. Come back to us with like 4 thumbnail, like take 30 seconds on each one, concepts of a layout. And then we'll talk about which one jumps out at us and we'll tweak it and we'll go back and forth until we're happy.
Yeah, I can tell there's a lot of collaboration here just because they're such solid concepts. And I think I was a couple weeks ago, somebody on the comics Discord I'm part of that was writing, he was asking questions about script writing for artists and really, I think, struggling with how much information to put out there. And in the script, is that going to put people off? And I think you can go both ways. It's like, because I kind of said, you know, I like knowing all that stuff. If you have this huge panel description, all this background stuff, I want to know if I really want to know if something's like possible to foreshadow, which isn't going to necessarily find its way in a panel description, but I don't want this person is standing here with a red handkerchief and they need to walk over there the next panel. It's going to kill it's not just that it isn't fun, and it's not. Right. It's just not going to be easy to make it look dynamic to get all those details in there. And it's kind of important to figure out which ones are important, which ones aren't.
I tend to write in a way where like both, I do both. And I change depending on the artist too. Like if I know I'm working with someone who prefers more leeway, I write in a way where it's more like, here's the page. Here's what happens on this page, you know, and kind of, does this make sense as a 4-panel page or a 6-panel page? Like I'll ask questions in the script. But like, for example, I write a book called the Grizzly Crew, and my artist on that, Nick Justice, actually prefers more direction. And then from there, he kind of will break what I'm asking for if it doesn't make sense or if he thinks of something better. But he likes to know exactly what I had in my head when I wrote it first. And then he likes to be creative from there. And some people prefer that you don't put any ideas in their head. So, you know, it's really different depending on the artist you work with.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to approach it, because I always like to have the information, like I said. And even if like, oh, I want this fight to go a certain way and I want these certain beats, that's enough. But if there's even like really specific stuff, like, oh, I want them to do this type of kick I saw in a movie, even if it doesn't work at the first part that they mentioned it, like, oh, you know, actually when the fight's wrapping up, there might be a cool panel where I could do that, or it just makes sense and it's not repetitive. And I think it's good to have the information, but be flexible. We had a question here from Raphael Flores Jr. Are you taking story submissions for the next anthology? And have y'all considered doing kind of a publishing house that would feature miniseries or ongoing series from students of the Scott Snyder class?
So I think a lot of the kids, I'll answer the second one first. A lot of the people in the class have day jobs. And so it's a lot, like I would say most of the people that listen to Scott's podcast, like the class every month or whenever he does it as often as he can, I would say most of them are not actually there to take something and apply it to their craft. I think he has many followers, and many subscribers. I think most of them are there because they love him, they're fans of his, and they want to hear him talk about the process. And they're not necessarily, maybe they're interested in the process, but they're not necessarily going to take what they're learning and apply it to a story. And so the ones who do, it's a much smaller subset of those people. Every one of them that I know has a day job. Every one of them that I know, you know, they're not writing ongoing series in such a way where you could say, okay, pitch me an ongoing series and we'll do a book every month. Like no one can really get on a schedule like that right now. If they wanted to, we would absolutely love to have that conversation. But the anthology is sort of the way that the kids in the class can kind of get published for the first time and kind of, you know, take that first step. There aren't a lot of people in the class who have published multiple stories. There are a few. Casey Van Heel, for example, has published a few stories, full books and full series. You know, he's done a few. He worked with another company I work with, Blue Juice Comics, on a full series. So there are a handful, but a lot of them are, you know, the editors who did the previous version of this thing were still in school. So, you know, there's a lot of, I think putting together a system where everyone had the opportunity to write kind of an ongoing thing would be very challenging. Who is that asking about the?
Raphael Flores.
Same thing. Oh, okay. So I was. This is the answer to the first question. So we are always open to submissions. We only take submissions from people in the class. Raphael, if you want to write me an email, you can find me. I'm at Thorny Comics on all the social media platforms, so you can find me and message me on Blue Sky, on Facebook. I'm on, the Blue Sky is the one I'm more active on, and I also have a Substack, and so you can reach me through any of those, and we'll talk. We when we first opened up submissions, we got something like 75 submissions in the first month or so, from I think 50 something different writers. So some people submitted 2 ideas, 3 ideas, and so we have kind of a backlog. Like we have stories that we want to publish that we have stories we've been sitting on for a few months that we know we want to put in issue 5, where this is issue 4 that's on Kickstarter right now. So issue 5 will be about 3 months from now. Issue 6, we know we're going to do another holiday story. So we're taking pitches right now for holiday stories, and that includes any holiday. Like we've opened it up to any holiday from the entire year. The weirder the holiday, the more interesting the holiday, the better. But yeah, we're open to submissions all the time. So we're always taking new ideas. At this point, if you're pitching a story that's not a holiday story, there's a good chance that we don't have a slot open until sometime in early 2026.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's cool to see that there are a mix of people taking the class. That some people just want to have that information or just think it's cool to get some background on what Scott Snyder's doing and how he does it and puts things together. And then also people that are really looking to take that stuff and kind of inject it into their work and their process.
Yeah, I mean, I started taking it just because I'm a fan, and I like listening to him talk about it. I like anyone talking about the process of telling stories in any medium. And so again, I work in television, so I've done writing for television, producing, directing, and like it was interesting when you listen to Scott talk. He often gives examples from movies instead of comics. Like he'll often talk about writing a 5 or 6 issue story that can be a graphic novel when you're done, that can be like a volume when you're done, and thinking of it as like a 90 to 120 page screenplay. There's a first act, there's a sort of a build, there's a climax, and then there's the end. There's a resolution. And so it's a story. The storytelling the rules are kind of the same in some ways across all media, and then there's nuances. There are page turns in comics instead of act breaks and commercial breaks in TV. There's a slightly different sort of nuance to how you're writing the story. But a good story is a good story, regardless of what the medium is you're telling it in.
Yeah,
and so him talking about that, like I came into it just to listen to him talk, and then I found out about these anthologies, and I was like, oh shoot, I'm going to start writing a story, and I did, and then we took over this whole project.
No, it's very cool. We've had a lot of people, I'd say in the last few months, who are writers coming on to promote a book. And I always, I'm an artist first, and I always kind of come at things from that angle. And I always usually ask, what's your collaboration like with your, with your artist? How do you guys work that stuff through? And I'm always surprised to hear, I think the general, stereotype is people come in from writing screenplays, or that's their experience, or even like novels and things like that, and have a lot of trouble adapting to comics and the language of it and what looks cool even.
Right.
And I'm sort of surprised that everybody I've talked to, and I kind of want to be like, oh, what comics inspired you and this and that. And they're like, oh, this is like the first time I've even started reading comics when somebody suggested I make this a graphic novel. And almost every one of them has been great at really taking in what comics have to offer as a visual medium. None of that stuff that's like dialogue heavy or, that's fine too. But I'm surprised at how much those people, I've seen ones I thought, oh, this guy has to be a comics writer like first, because they're really working with their artists to come up with like impactful visuals, the story shaped around it, the pacing shaped around it. And I've been pretty surprised that they've all been like, oh yeah, I'm a Stephen King fan, and somebody said you should make this a graphic novel. And I picked up a graphic novel and I liked it. And those people have done just amazing work. So I was kind of surprised to hear how well that's translating lately, at least anecdotally here.
Yeah, I think Scott came to comics after publishing a novel.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Storytelling. Like I said, storytelling is storytelling. I think it's you have a good story. It translates to however you want to tell it, whatever medium you're in. That's why so many books get adapted into movies and television shows. And you can kind of. There's always a way to do it, and to kind of focus on a new part of the story, even, or highlight something different or interesting by having to change the medium. That's why characters live or die, and some people get really angry about that kind of thing. I'm not one of them necessarily, but as long as it's still good, you capture the sort of essence of something without just copying it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's I mean, I think that's even stuff that has been comics and it's adapted. I think sometimes the fun is seeing things change. There's this weird, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and somebody's been making these, I know they're AI and you shouldn't encourage it, but they're these really good sort of fan anime things of the Thrawn trilogy that somebody started putting together. And they made this big change where instead of it being the character it was in the books, it was Mace Windu. And I thought, that's kind of sacrilegiously weird, but I'm like, that's a cool surprise. I kind of like that they did that. I think sometimes those changes can be fun as well. So I try to keep an open mind. But we're going to take a quick break here and play a couple messages, and we'll come back and talk some more.
Your comics take a lot of time and effort to create. Way too much to have them get damaged while shipping to your backers. Gemini Comic Supply mailers keep your comics safe in transit. And with the code GeekCollective10, you can get those mailers with 10% off your order. That's GeekCollective10. Enter it at checkout to get 10% off.
Click that mouse and warp into All Ages of Geek's website, your ultimate portal to everything geek culture. Here you'll find articles that speak your language, from the latest anime buzz to the coolest tech trends. Our mission? To celebrate geekdom in all its glory. Whether you're a gamer, a comic enthusiast, a 90s kid, or an anime aficionado, we've got something for you. Dive deep into them with All Ages of Geek.
And the other thing we wanted to share is Joey messaged me. Joey, I think you're excited for this. We have a new sort of code you can enter and get a discount on something on Dubby, is that right? Energy drink?
Yeah, W Energy. So this one, we're really excited about this one because we are now we are a partner sponsor to talk a little bit about Dubby. This one is, you guys know me, I love energy drinks and I love to kind of do that, but there's always that weird crash that happens, right? I always get like a headache when I don't drink. I always try to like the other energy drinks. I really like the one that with the green claw marks. I'm not going to tell the name. But that's my go-to drink, right? It was until I met Dubby. This one is awesome because it's got 0 sugar. It's got a really great maltodextrin filler, which is it's a plant derivative. It's like they use that instead of all the gross high fructose fillers that they do to make thicken up the drinks and things, right? So this is going to be there's no artificial colors, no dyes, there's no hidden ingredients, there's gluten free. This is really good on my asthma as well. Like I have really bad asthma, and when I drink some of the other energy drinks, it kind of exacerbates my asthma a little bit. This is not going to do that. So this one, we're really excited to talk about this, and you guys, we can get you guys a 10% off coupon if you guys go to w.com and check it out, and at checkout put in Geek Collective 10 at checkout, and you guys get yourself 10% off. I'm gonna be ordering mine here pretty soon. I'm gonna be drinking it. We're gonna talk to you guys a little bit about it, and we're gonna go deeper into it. But please check it out. We love Dubby, and we're definitely gonna want you guys to check this one out. Thanks for allowing us to do this, Ben. Appreciate it.
No problem. I'll make a little commercial for that soon, but I don't know. This kind of hit me out of the blue. I don't really know how to approach it. I think it's going to involve a silly voice, and I don't know what people are going to think about it, but ideas are forming.
I'm here for every single thing that you do. Like, I love your ideas. Let's do it.
I don't know. This one might be out there.
Let's do it, man.
All right. But to get back to the cloakroom, so you kind of talked about, Jerry, you talked about how much you guys have coming up, and how you're looking at maybe taking this to stores and other formats in the future. Tell us a little bit more about this holiday issue that's coming out soon.
So we did one last year. We kind of did it last minute. So it was like we looked at our stories that we'd already been pitched, and there were, I think, 4 or 5 that were already holiday themed. They were already like built around Christmas or Hanukkah. Actually, we didn't have a Hanukkah story. We had 2 Passover stories, and so we decided we were gonna try and pull the trigger and collect those into a holiday issue. And we got a couple more pitches really quickly, and we did a holiday issue last year. And so it was a ton of fun. We got a lot of really cool kind of messed up. I think if that's a live link, you can actually just look at the last campaign and you can see some of it. So if you just look through, if you just search on Kickstarter for
the CloakRoom. Is it from your?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, that would be the same.
Your past campaigns. I know some of these I think were from a different one.
It's
Oh, there
the
we
first
go.
one right there. Yeah. So we had some cool covers for this one too. Yeah, so it's just a holiday
Yeah.
theme. We had the one. This was Jimmy Kusach did this, and it's sort of a jack o' lantern guy writing the stories, and he's kind of under attack from Christmas elves and the Passover, angel of death, and a clown from a birthday party, which we allowed. We allowed birthday parties to count as holidays for the purposes of that issue. That's one, and then there's another below it, I think, from Xander. Yeah, Xander Wise did this one. This kid is amazing. I think he's like 21. He's way too young to be as good at at this. And so he sent us, I think, 6 different covers. We used one of them, and we're going to use more of them this year because he did like a Valentine's Day cover, and we didn't have a Valentine's Day story. We will this year. He pitched an Easter cover. We'll have an Easter story this year. But this is like, Santa is an axe murderer and like has killed and wrapped up a bunch of dead bodies. It's kind of like really twisted and fun.
Oh wow!
And then
somehow I didn't take that when I was just kind of overwhelmed with all the rendering and stuff, which I'm like, oh yeah, he's
yeah, it's fun. The
Okay.
more you look at it, you realize like, oh, those are bodies wrapped up. If you were be able to see them a little closer, there's eyeballs and stuff in the.
Oh, I can see that now. Yeah.
Yeah. And the cookies and the milk are being knocked over. Like it's not a pleasant. It seems like a serene scene, and then you look at it, you keep watching it, and you're like, oh, there's blood on that axe. Okay, that's.
I think the fact that it's muted really like lets you wander over it in your own direct. It doesn't like have a bright red splash of blood. It's like, okay, I'm going to look there and take that
Right.
in. That's cool. I think that makes you work for it a little bit in a fun way.
Yeah, and all these are all available in the new campaign too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Alex Schumacher. He did the art for one of the stories in that issue, which was Crime in Passover, which was a comedic story about a kid at Passover trying to prove that his cousin has been gaming the system to win his family's favor at family holidays all these years. So it's sort of like a true crime comedy thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very funny. It actually is one of the few stories I've read where I laugh out loud every time I read it.
Yeah, humor is so tough to do in comics. I think we talked about things that are kind of, and I was doing this. I did a cover for oh my god, I'm blanking on the name all of a sudden. From our friends at Oneshi Press, for one of their things, they had this kind of a Deadpoolish character in terms of his demeanor and stuff, and they wanted me to read the whole script. And I thought, okay, I'm not a big fan of reading entire scripts if I don't have to draw them, but I really enjoyed it, and I laughed a few times, and I thought, wow, this is it's kind of funny that this is actually humorous. A lot of times somebody really likes Deadpool, or they're trying to add that element, and I don't think pays enough attention to really porting the humor into a comic book language where the jokes work, where the pacing works, and it just fits on there in the right way. So I'm really in awe of anybody that can pull that off. I have no idea how it works.
Yeah, I mean it's I think humor is hard anywhere. Humor is like, I think any kind of story, doing anything well is hard. And you need to kind of have a head for it, whatever it is. But like comedy is such a subjective. Is it funny? Is it offensive? Is it both? Kind of a thing. So it's really hard to do well anywhere, and to do well consistently is incredibly hard. But yeah, in comics, it's definitely challenging. Because you know what it is too, the eye wanders. Like the thing with comedy is you need a surprise. You need to be shocked. You need to be like, you need to not see the punchline fully. You might even feel the punchline is about to hit you, but like you need to not fully see it coming. And when you turn a comic page, like your eyeball wanders. So it's hard to do a visual joke because unless it's on the page turn, you kind of blow it as soon as they flip a page and the joke is on the right. You kind of like, oh, I get it now. And then you're reading it and you're just catching up to what you kind of already know is going to happen, So it's very challenging. And, timing it, picking the right panels to do it in the right pages and all that. It's very hard.
You touched on something. Can you, for those people out there, this, because your guys' book is part of a class where everybody learns how to make this stuff. You talked a little bit about page turns and left and right. Can you talk a little bit about that and elaborate about how that works?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of like the mechanics of writing a story for comics is just if someone picks up your book and they're going to read the first page, there are a lot of writers who will try to build something into just that first page to make you turn the page and keep reading. And then they'll try to do that as often as possible at the end of, so when you open your book, the first page you're looking at on the right-hand side is an odd numbered page. And when you flip it, you're looking at an even page and another odd page. So your 2-page spread, the left is even, the right is odd. So what a lot of people will try and do is at the end of all their odd pages, they'll try where it makes sense and where it's not like ham-fisted in there. They'll try to have something that makes you want to turn the page. You'll notice this if you're starting to think about how the comics are assembled, you start to pick it up, and it actually starts to get aggravating, because then it's like you almost wish you didn't know what the mechanics were, and you want someone to kind of surprise you. Then you're looking for people who kind of mess with the medium. But the idea is that when you get to the bottom of that page, at any point, the reader physically has to turn a page and decide to keep reading. So you always want to keep them engaged. So there's almost always these things that happen on the odd numbered pages at the bottom that make them flip to the next page. Sometimes it'll be like there'll be a setup, in the comedy thing, like where I try to where it's possible. With short stories, it's hard because sometimes you only have 4 pages, so the punchline kind of lands where the punchline lands. But if you want to save something for a visual gag, it kind of has to be on an even numbered page. Because once you open up a 2-page spread, your eye just looks over the whole 2 pages before you start reading up at the top. And so if the punchline is midway through an even numbered page or an odd numbered page, everyone's looking at it. As soon as they turn the page, that's the first thing you see before you look back left and start reading. So, the mechanics of that are just kind of like an interesting thing to learn and look for, and then also to not try to overuse. Like every comic, if you look at like what some writers, once you have credibility, you can do whatever you want, so you can tell the ones who are less confident, because every page turn opportunity is being like milked to the point where you can feel it when you're reading it. And there are ones like, this is my favorite example. It happens to be my cousin. James Tynan is my cousin, and he's at a place right now where he's doing very well. Every book he's put out in the last like 5 books in a row has been a hit. So he has hit a stride, and he can kind of do whatever he wants. So you can tell he'll start a book with a slow burn. He'll start a book where you're 4 or 5 pages in before there's a hook, before the title page, before he, sets the hook and grabs you, because he knows you're reading Something Is Killing the Children, you're reading World Tree, you're now reading Exquisite Corpses. Whatever he puts out next, he doesn't need to grab you in the first 4 panels. You know his name, you trust him, you like his other work, you're going to stick around, you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt for a little while. So he does these stories where it's like you're 5-6 pages in before there's some twist that you go, wait, what am I reading? But he builds up to it, and that's a confidence that you build with experience.
It get a little tricky too, right? Because you end up setting the precedence, right? And then people start to get used to your writing, and then you switch it up. So it's like you got to play the game a little bit, and that's part of the whole thing, right?
That's it. And I think like the big two, when you're reading those kind of like superhero books, like a lot of what Scott goes over in the class, it's just like, again, it's like screenwriting. You learn the rules, and then you learn, as you're getting good at it, you learn where to break them and how to break them in ways that will surprise the reader but not turn them off to your book. Mm-hmm. So, in film, there's this thing where, if you want something good to enter the screen, it should come in from the left side of the screen, because that's how the human mind, for whatever reason, it might just be Western literature, you read from left to right. So it's not a threat coming from the left. If you want something to scare the shit out of you, it comes from the other side. It comes from the right. So a lot of horror movies, Jason Voorhees will always pop up from the right side of the screen. And it's just this old like filmmaking things, and you learn those tricks. And then again, the hacky ones, you can kind of see that all they're doing is hitting those check marks.
Yeah.
And the audience will eventually get used to it. Do you remember Lost, that show, right?
Yeah.
Every episode early on ended with some kind of a what the hell moment. And it started to feel a little repetitive. And then they went really bonkers with what they were doing with the story. And, then they were kind of doing weird stuff for a while. But it's like reading like, I don't know, there's books too that do this, where every chapter is sort of a cliffhanger.
There's a moment when you get to like a point of where you can tell that they're kind of like forcing it, right?
Yeah.
like yeah, there's those moments where we're lost. Like it felt a little forced. You're like, all right, cool idea, but you guys were really pushing it real hard.
Yeah. I mean, for television, like I've written some true crime shows. I've written for some true crime series on TV, and there's sort of a very expected rhythm that they want for those. And like when you are approaching an act break, and so you're going to need to make someone stick around for the commercial break.
Yeah.
You leave it on some kind of a like, and then Joey was there just for just for like a drink, but he was about to get more than that, and then you cut to commercial, but they want that kind of cliffhanger thing at the end of every act.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to build that into your storytelling, and so comics are the same way. You build that into your storytelling, and sometimes you get to the point where you've earned the ability to not have to check that box every time, and people will stick with you, and you get a different kind of story where there's a slow burn or that kind of thing. So
yeah, it's that moment that people are in the middle of a conversation inside the room, right? And then there's a knock at the door, right? Right. So yeah, exactly.
And these rules go back forever. Like the classic example that always pops up to me is the cameo appearance of whatever's going to happen in the next issue at the end of every issue of like Marvel Comics for like 30 years. You know what I mean?
I remember when they did that.
Yeah, Wolverine's first appearance is a cameo at the end of a Hulk story. And it's literally like the story for the issue is over, and then it's like, let's see how he deals with the Wolverine. And there's Wolverine on the last panel, and you're like, what? And it's a cliffhanger. It's just, you better go buy the next book and find out what this is about, And that's really smart. And there's a really like kind of like that way of doing it has been around for so long that it feels a little hokey now, just because comics have evolved so much. The writing has evolved, the style has evolved. So people try to be more clever about the way they do those cliffhangers and make you come back for another issue or turn the page or, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's all like the rules will keep evolving as everyone's sensibilities evolve. And what we're doing now that feels so clever, 20 years from now, they'll be talking about how hokey this shit is. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think also the way we follow these stories has changed. Like half the people are reading these as trades, half the people are reading them online every 3 months. So just catching up all at once. Half the people are reading it on Tuesday or Wednesday when it comes out. And I think if you're waiting once a month, or like when I was a kid, you're riding to the convenience store on your bike to get the newest issue of Daredevil. I think some of the stuff that's hokey now, just in that format, all their time considerations aside, doesn't seem that hokey. Whereas if it's just like, if I've read 3 issues in a row and they hit that beat every time, it's like, okay, that's a little bit too much. And so some of it just works in that way, for that reason. And we have so many different ways we're taking them in.
I mean, you can see how comics are being bought and read now and sold. Like even people will, the major publishers now are trying to do one issue and then they don't publish another one until the collected trade, because people don't buy them. People don't buy 2, 3, 4, and 5. They buy one as a collectible, and then they, some people are buying them. I'm not saying no one's buying them, but it's not enough to sustain the industry the way it once was. And so the storytelling changes, This is something I always say about all this stuff. It's not, anytime anyone is like, comics are dying, comics are dead, manga is killing comics, like manga's not killing comics. Manga is comics. They're the same thing. It's just another slightly different format. Like if you're mad that they're doing graphic novels, as indie books, then they come out as like larger collections, like that's just, it evolves, it's just evolving.
Exactly. Everything evolves. Like right now, we got a lot of comic books, American comic books that are influenced by manga, and what they do with those is that a lot of times they do things that you can't get from manga, right? You can't get colored pages from manga, so they do this art style with color, or do these things that they feel like they wish they could get, right? A lot of them aren't doing the right to left; they're doing the left to right. And so there's these fun things that we could do with these things and evolve, right? Even the way that we distribute, because of all the things that's been coming out of Diamond and all this craziness that's coming out of all that stuff, we are all finding different ways to adapt and travel this new terrain that we see right in front of us. And yeah, I agree. I don't think comics are going to die. I believe that we are going to adapt and we're going to find new ways to get them out there. And a lot of those new ways are just like this, with crowdfunding and things of that nature. And so many amazing things, so many amazing comic books out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, as like people's sensibilities changed, over time, like stores, I think, were struggling to sell indie books. Indie books are not as consistent as Batman comes out every month. Batman has 2 books that come out every month. That's on a slow month. Like the Bat Family is like a dozen books, and those come out every month like clockwork from a gigantic company. That's a sure thing. So if you get a customer hooked on Batman, you could be selling them like $50 worth of comics every month for a long time, for years.
Yeah.
So if you're running a store, it just makes more sense to try and push capes and tights that are consistent.
And then as a self-publisher and somebody who understands these kinds of things, right? Like big indie publishers or big two, like Big Two and things of that nature, they have their own equipment inside in house that they print and do all these things in house. So that makes their cost, your margins are a little bit lower, and there's a better margins to kind of make a leeway there, right? Those things are part of the business that a lot of us get a headache thinking about, but it's the way that they've done it, and they're doing things that is growing and being consistent. Like they got to a point to where they can just pay people to write this character that's been around for decades, right? And some at some points 80 something years, right? And then it's like these things continue going. You can stop reading one of these characters and come back, and you can rely on that these characters are still going to be, the basis of what they are is still going to be there, right? And that's people love consistency like that, right? And that's one of those things that you got to follow the same kind of strategic things that they do with their business, right? They're consistent with the story. They're consistent with these things. Certain things don't change, right? Batman's going to be the guy who his parents get killed, and it's the same thing that's always going to happen, right? So you just got to focus on consistency, right? And that's one of those things that we got to do as self-publishers and indie publishers that are trying to do this in a new market is find a way to be consistent, find a way to create your own kind of Batman where it's going to continue to be consistent even if somebody goes away for a while.
See, I think what's great about the indie people I know, and is some of them don't like, that's not their goal. Like they don't necessarily want to have a character that lives forever and keeps coming back. And it's sort of like, sitcom storytelling is like that. Every episode kind of ends with a wah wah, and then it's like you shake the Etch-a-Sketch and you start over where you started all over again, And there's some people who just don't, it's nice because you can kind of with the crowdfunding, you can, if you have just like I have 120 backers on this campaign right now, and I've raised $3,600. So, and we pay for art, we're paying for the covers, we pay for every page in the book. So the creators in this book are each getting paid. So our funding number, those are our hard costs for making one issue of the book, printing it, having it shipped to me from the printer. And we need about almost like 175 to 200 backers, to get there every issue. If you have an idea that you can tell, and you can find an artist that wants to work with you on it and isn't crazy expensive, if you find 50 to 100 people who are willing to give you $10 or $15, you can pay to have it done. You could pay to do it like this.
Yeah.
And so you don't necessarily have to do what you're talking about. It's great if that's what you want to do. If you want to build a character that's going to keep coming back forever and ever and ever, that's awesome.
Right. And it doesn't have to be just one single character, right? You can create a business. You think of it, in a broader sense, right? Think about it take that kind of the thing that I'm talking about and put it into your business and create this space where that idea is your business, where you're creating this consistency with not just one character, but your whole
universe, or just
exactly your whole writing career of whatever you want to do, or your artistic career, right? And create this space for that.
But if you're also someone who just wants to, you have stories in mind that are not for everyone and aren't like, kind of a home run where everyone in the world, this is going to be really broadly appealing to a lot of people. You might have like a niche. You might have like a little group of people who are just going to be really diehard fans of everything you do. And maybe it's 75 people, but that's all you need. Now you can make that book if you want to. So you kind of end up, because of Kickstarter, because of other crowdfunding platforms, you get these stories you would never get anywhere else. Because if the people on the platform decide this should exist, poof, there it is.
Exactly.
And that doesn't
Okay.
exist anywhere else.
Talking about that, let's talk a little bit about some of the books that we love that are on Kickstarter right now. Ben, if you could please play that.
All right, first up, Angel Hunter. Tell us about this one.
Can I just?
Yeah.
I want to interrupt for a second. First of all, Rich and
Yeah.
Les are both very good friends of mine for this.
Cool.
So I love both of them. When I was going to bring this particular Kickstarter up, because one, I knew it was live, and two, when you were talking about comics, Western comics being influenced by manga, like this is a perfect example. It's still told Western, left to right storytelling, but Rich had this idea that like the characters should look a little bit more manga, like the eyes are a little bit bigger, and there's sort of like a Japanese art feel to it. And Les is like this gothic artist, so the combination of his like gothic. Les has done a couple of stories for the Cloakroom, and I published the Reign of Dracula, which is the third installment of their World of Dracula. So anyway, go ahead, you do your thing. I apologize.
No, you put that. And Ben, if you want to go up to that, there's a flip book there, and I've known Rich for quite some time now. Rich is a really great guy. The things that he does is amazing. Like all the stories that he's got out there, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out. We're helping him push this book out there. We helped him build this campaign, and what he really wanted was a flip book. And I was like, dude, I don't know, like we could do one, but it's going to take up a lot of space and all this stuff. So we found a compromise, and we found this really cool feature that you guys can look through the entire book with no words, there's no lettering yet, but you can look at the artwork in full detail, the whole entire thing, for free right now on the campaign. If you guys want to head over to Angel Hunter, all you got to do is go to geekcollective.net/Angel Hunter and check that one out. Right now it is funding. He hit his funding goal in the first 47 minutes. That's fantastic. He had close to 200 pre-launch followers. We went hard on pre-launch for this one, and we did a bunch of stuff and pushed out a bunch of stuff. This is one of those things where you have to find your community, right, and utilize your community. Like did not just reach out to one marketer, he reached out to multiple marketers, right? Because there's no rules saying that you can't do that kind of stuff, right? Especially people who you already know and have relationships with, and you know that they're already going to love your stuff. So he just grabbed a bunch of friends that love his stuff, and I'm sure he paid some of them to do some of this stuff. And we're working with him, and he's paying us for some of the services that we helped him do with this campaign. So this one, that's one of those things, right? You got to look for those people that you can trust, that are gonna help you push this as much as you would, right? There's people out there that always say there's not going to be anybody who's going to push it more than I am, that love it more than I do. And sometimes I feel like that's not true, right? There's a lot of people out there who love your stories and your characters just as much as you do, and they will definitely talk about it if you give them a chance. This one's fantastic. This one follows. There's some fallen angels. There's demons. There's magical powers. There's all kinds of really cool stuff. Gorgeous looking artwork. It's got that manga style. It's black and white. He's got some really cool unlocks there when you get to a certain point, they're gonna unlock a colored version of this. So please, if you guys would love a colored version of this, like we were talking about earlier, there's different options that these American style manga it's like a new fad that's going on now, that they come up with these different things to do. And now one of the things that he really wanted to do with this one was get to a point where he could color it, but he really loves the black and white kind of manga style, so he kind of wanted to offer it to you guys first. So definitely check this one out. There's 2140 right now, 36 backers. That is amazing numbers right there. Just letting you guys know, like, he funded this in 47 minutes with under 40 backers. Fantastic. So that tells you right now that this story is freaking fantastic work. You guys are going to want to check this one out. What else we got up next, Ben?
Let's go to Interstellar Dust. Our friend CJ Hudson is putting this one out. I think he's launching tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. After this show, I'm going to go finish up building his campaign for him. We've done some really cool stuff. I really wish that I could show you guys behind the scenes. I'm sure if he was around, he'd probably let us. But man, this one's really cool. This one's gorgeous artwork. This one's kind of got a little bit of a manga kind of thing going on. He's got some really cool character sheets that he's got on there that I'm not sure if he's going to turn into like trading cards. I might talk him into doing something like that, but they're really cool. They're kind of manga influenced kind of characters and stuff like that. The artwork is definitely gorgeous. This one follows a handful of people who are detained and are part of they are now being imprisoned on a prison transport in space. And you kind of see go through this. This is going to be an omnibus, which means it's going to be in its full entirety. I think he said close to 200-300 pages. This is a whole collection. For the first time ever, you can grab this whole entire omnibus. I think if you scroll up, it tells you how many pages are up there. But definitely check this one out. Interstellar Dress, over 200 pages of sci-fi action, 1 through 8, issues 1 through 8, originally published as Interstellar Dust. Volume 1 within the Off-World anthology. That's another anthology that was on Kickstarter. You guys could probably still grab some of those issues right now as well. And he did most of these things through there. Now he's this one got picked up in the direct market, and then now he's going to be issuing this omnibus for the first time. Gorgeous wraparound covers, gorgeous soft covers, and hardcover editions. He's also got some really cool incentives where if you go to his Substack and you subscribe to his yearly account, like you guys, I think it's like $5-10 to do the lowest tier. But you do that and you can get an exclusive secret link for a secret offer in this campaign, a secret reward where you have a secret cover. So definitely check that one out and follow CJ Hudson and follow him on Substack. If you become a paid subscriber of his Substack newsletter, then you will be able to get a really cool gift. I think all you're gonna have to do is pay for the Substack and the subscription, and then pay like $1 for the book. So you guys are gonna be getting this one for a heck of a deal. So check that one out. Please check that one out.
All right. Yeah, love to see I'd love to see that this series has gotten so many issues in the bag that they can collect it. It's just great to see. Creator is a friend of ours, good guy, and does awesome stuff. Just get this far or something.
Definitely.
All right. Next one is my book. I'll give Joey a break here. We Are Scarlet Twilight, Cobalt Crisis Part 1. This is the follow-up to We Are Scarlet Twilight. I did an in-between issue that is based on like Countdown to Infinite Crisis or some of those great lead-in books. 2 big 2 crossovers. I wasn't sure I wanted to come back to this universe. I really liked how the first story wrapped up. It didn't need a sequel, but I had an idea for it that wasn't quite clicking until I was reading Crisis one day and thought it would be great to do something like that, something like Secret Wars in a 1940s Golden Age inspired style. That would be something new and interesting, and gave me an opportunity to cover some of the beats we expect from those big 2 crossovers, but done in the style from the Golden Age, and just thought, all right, this is worth doing. It's going to be novel in that way, but also just really familiar stuff. And I thought this could be a lot of fun, and I think it will be. Almost done with the first issue. I think I have to send a couple more issues out of the Countdown book, and then we'll get this one going. But really excited for this one to be getting out to people. Really excited to be kicking off the story. It's going to be 8 issues total, so it's going to be a hefty sort of long epic. And it's all written. It's pretty much just got to be drawn by me. So how long that might take, but pumped for this one to get going and get over to that pre-launch page, and you'll be the first to hear when we do launch. And our last book, Joey, tell us about your book.
This is I Need Your Skin. This is my book, and Jerry, you were talking a little bit ago about even if you're not a writer or an artist, you got ideas and you can come up with stuff and still publish, right? This is my work here. I'm not a writer. I'm not a artist, right? I think I'm more of an ideas man, and but I've got this really cool story in my head, right? So, and I know a bunch of writers, I know a bunch of artists, I know letterers. So I got a really great team behind this. These are the guys from Grandma Chainsaw and Pocus Hocus. It is Alan Dunford doing some co-writing on this one. He and I are writing this one together. I mostly do the Marvel method. I shoot things at him and he puts it on the page. And then he tightens it up with his amazing artwork and his amazing talent of writing. And we got Brian Belando, who's doing artwork on this one. We have Dave Lentz, who is the letterer, and we're gonna have Ruben Mocho doing a cover. So is Brian Belando. And then we have this week, actually, as soon as we get off of here, I got to drop some files into a Drive folder so that we can get those over to Kit Wallace, and Kit Wallace is going to do us a cover as well. So we were talking a little bit about how if you want something good coming to the left and something creepy and scary coming from the right, here we go with this artwork is doing exactly that. Right, we got our main monster here of the story. I'm gonna let you guys know because we're about to launch this thing. This is I'm gonna whisper it to you guys. This is Vanity personified. So this is our demon of the story, and they're coming in from the right. So you can tell that this is not somebody that you're going to trust. So definitely check this one out. This one follows Nora Perkins, who has a fear of aging, and she believes a clairvoyant can help her, but a deal will be made for a small piece of her flesh. This one is I Need Your Skin book 1. Again, we have a really cool story to tell. I have a larger story in mind to tell, but it all depends on if this one is successful, right? I want everything to be successful, but we have a larger universe to tell. And if we get this, this is going to be 3 issues, and then we have a one shot, and then 3 issues, and which is going to be 7 books in its entirety. We're going to call it a working title here, 7 Deadly Verse. So it kind of gives you guys a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be playing into here. This is a little play on the 7 deadly sins, things of that nature. So definitely check this one out if you guys are interested. This intrigues you. This one is a horror story. It is going to have a little bit of body horror. So if you guys have triggers, with creepy things, just beware when you look at this page. So definitely check this one out. Ben, I want to derail this a little bit and talk a little bit about something that we got in for one of our last campaigns. You know that we have an anthology magazine. Archetypes, our anthology magazine, and we did a trading card campaign not too long ago, and the cards finally came in, man. And this one, these are our cards, and these are where's it? So these are our regular cards that we have. If you guys remember this campaign, you guys get 3 standard regular cards. You get 1 special card, which is this really gorgeous looking glow in the dark. All the green glows in the dark there. And then you guys, if you get 1 in 5 chance, you have a 1 in 5 chance. So if anybody gets 5 of these packs here, they're our trading card collector packs, you have a chance to get a glow-in-the-dark metal card. That's our metal card there. Or this really cool. These are both glow-in-the-dark metal cards. So if you guys get 5 packs, you will get one of those metal cards in your package. We're gonna be we got a bunch of new equipment in today, and we're gonna be using that to put those into our own DIY packaging. So we're gonna have these booster packaging where it is printed on. It's not just recycled paper. It is 100% tree free. It's made from sugarcane extract paper, and we're going to print on that, and we're going to make that into the DIY booster packaging, so you guys can rip these packs and try to find your metal cards there. Listen, I sent Ben a video. I don't know, Ben, if you can grab that video quick and upload it, but it's glow in the dark cards. The way they look in the glow in the dark when they're activated, like you could see some of the pieces here of our character here. She's got really has some cool highlights here, and they glow. So hopefully, okay, look, Ben's got the video. Yeah, we're gonna do the video of the glows here. It's gonna be really, really cool. Let's see, put that up there. So switch my face. Let's see.
Oh, I just switched it back.
Oops.
Sorry.
Because we know how to push buttons here, guys.
No, it took me off the.
These things look freaking cool in the dark. The metals glow, the standard cards glow. Very, very cool stuff here. And they're pretty bright. Like this video, this camera does not do it justice. How bright the blue is when it glows. It is actually really freaking cool. So check that one out. We're gonna get those shipped out to you guys, along with our second issue of Archetypes, which is gonna be going to print very soon. We are finalizing all the pages now. They're all finished. They're all ready to go. We're just making sure that they're all set up and ready to go, and then we're gonna print. We're gonna print those right before we go live with I Need Your Skin, so that we are not on the hook for any of these things. We want to go into this next campaign fresh and making sure that you guys have all these amazing things in your mailbox. So check that out. And we just got a really cool button maker in, so we're going to be making our own buttons for all these new campaigns, and we're going to have some really gorgeous looking, professional looking buttons for you guys for services as well. So if you guys are looking for some buttons and would like us to help you fulfill those for you, let us know, and we can work some deals out for you guys as well. That's it, Ben. I don't got anything else. Do you have anything?
I have nothing else. Jerry, thanks for coming by and sharing sharing the anthology with us. I hope everybody will head over there and back that. We have, I think it was 9 days to go, so a little bit of time, but no reason to cut it close if you're on the fence.
That's it, 9 days to go. And then just the other places. I'm Thorny Comics is the name of my publisher. I'm on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is the thing I use the most. The other thing is Substack. So my Substack is my name, jerrycarita.substack.com. And anyone, I only have free tiers. So you're only in as a free subscriber. Anyone who's a subscriber to the newsletter, though, gets $4 off shipping for anything you buy from me on Kickstarter.
Awesome.
So it's worth it to get an occasional. You get like a once a month email from me.
Very cool.
Ish.
We're playing this year. We're playing with free shipping in the U.S. I don't know how that's going to go. It might kick us in the butt, but we're going to try it with this first issue and see how that goes. We're also doing giving people the opportunity to buy a second issue at half off. So you buy the first issue, it's kind of like a BOGO, but it's not free.
Yeah.
So it's buy one at full price and get the second half off. So and it's the share the gift of fear. so please check all these really amazing Kickstarters out. I love this. CloakRoom, 120 backers, 9 days to go, $3,632 already funded. Check it out.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us. Jerry, I want to thank you again for coming on to talk comics with us. I hope everybody watching now or later in the week has enjoyed seeing this as much as we've enjoyed talking about it. And we will see you next week with some more great comics.